what even is that?
These are my moves.
The very first sound we hear in Charlotte Wells' Aftersun is that of a mini DV camera, followed by shaky handheld footage of a father and a daughter sharing a sweet moment together. In Aftersun, a painful nostalgia bleeds through the frame as we follow an adult Sophie as she tries to form a coherent image of her late father, Callum, from her memories and video footage of her last childhood trip with him. With the opening shot and sound design, we are transported back into a memory. In the shoes of adult Sophie, we observe this moment as spectators just like her. The handheld footage creates intimacy and immediacy similar to a subjective shot. Using actual minicam footage here tricks the audience into believing that the relationship that we are seeing is real. Hence, Wells harnesses lo-fi recording quality and realistic camera work to sell the authenticity of the story and connection. This is just one of the many minute decisions in Aftersun that craft its ambiance and atmosphere. The film is even shot on 35mm film, taking advantage of the natural grain of a film stock to help give the visuals the texture of a memory. It's decisions like these that help Aftersun transcend story and become a feeling. And in this video, I get into the various ways in which it does exactly that. In contrast to the intimacy of the handheld footage, the scenes shot on film utilize wider shots, emphasizing the environment and communicating the relationship between these two characters. Early on in the movie, we see a very telling sequence. As Sophie sits in the hotel lobby passing the time, Callum stands at the reception desk with his back turned to us. They are separated spatially, but also are facing away from each other.
Hang tight, Bob, okay?
As Callum loses patience and proceeds to the stairs, we see this beautifully haunting moment of hesitation.
I'm fine.
After Sophie's response, Callum ascends upwards, and the camera work slowly pans back and dwells on Sophie. Alone. In a matter of seconds, Wells has communicated the distance between Sophie and Callum, foreshadowed the death of her father via him walking up the stairs, and her isolation, complemented by how blissfully ignorant she is to it all as a child. All of this from one shot. Sophie is always large in the frame, shown mostly in close-ups and mediums. However, Callum is always abstracted or shown from a distance. This highlights the emotional disconnect between Sophie and Callum. Her understanding of him is limited, vague, and lacking in detail, and this comes across in the composition. This shot of Sophie looking at Callum uses racking focus to echo those same ideas. We can see child Sophie trying to piece together what's going on in Callum's mind. Also, the film employs a significant amount of headroom and negative space in shots, particularly those featuring Callum. This creates a sense of emptiness and leaves the frame feeling hollow, as if something is always missing. This helps us relate to Sophie's grief, but also Callum's worldview. The color palette of Aftersun is crafted with a simple and natural duality. Warm, earthy tones may dominate scenes to convey a sense of comfort and familiarity, while cooler hues might be introduced during moments of sadness and tension, and these two feelings can blend together to create nostalgia. The lighting is often naturalistic and true to the environment, but tends to become more abstract and dark when we are focused on Callum, as we are unable to form a clear or realistic picture of him. The color scheme is best demonstrated in this shot, where Sophie and Callum are not only separated by a vertical line across the frame, but also contrasting hues. Sophie is in a warm place of childhood bliss, while Callum is pushed into a claustrophobic and cold reality. This is also in line with adult Sophie's understanding of the past. Her memories are bright and warm, but her image of her father is much darker and depressing in her absence. Counterintuitively, ambiguous spaces and subjective shots become a sort of reality in Aftersun. Since Sophie isn't mature enough to understand what's going on, these shots exit her perspective and reveal hidden truths through disorientation. You could even argue that these are shots through the perspective of adult Sophie looking back on these memories. It forces the viewer to ask what's going on under the surface of these events. This shot calls back to the beginning sequence from the movie, but introduces the information in a new way.
What did you think she would be doing now?
Well, so turn it off now, okay?
We watch back the events from the dark TV reflection at an off angle, with Callum's face imprisoned in the corner of the frame. It's clear that the memory we initially read as sweet has a darker subtext, revealing Callum's struggles in his personal life and as a father. We see a similar approach here, where an over-the-shoulder shot is used in conjunction with a mirror to corner Callum in the frame again. It's as if Callum is getting in his own way, visually and metaphorically, alluding to his internal mental battle. Not to mention this shot, where Callum is literally disappearing into the dark abyss of the ocean. However, the most significant use of an ambiguous and flat space comes in the form of the rave. The complete darkness, complemented by the harsh strobing lights, create a sobering but surreal environment in which we can assume to exist in adult Sophie's head. This is the imaginary space where Sophie wrestles with her understanding of her father. The strobing lights represent how Sophie only remembers Callum in pieces, unable to see him clearly or as a whole. The extremely low-key lighting here echoes Callum's state of mind and battle with depression and isolation, while also serving the purpose of showing Sophie wandering through the darkness to find him. In a way, the rave becomes a place of grieving for Sophie, where she is forced to come to terms with the death of her father, as we see in the end of the movie. Aftersun leaves you with the feeling that no movie does, because it merges the line between film and memory. Through her cinematography, Charlotte Wells invites audiences on a deeply personal journey of grief and acceptance. As the boundaries between reality and memory blur, we find ourselves re-examining our own relationships, and whether our memories are what we even remember them to be, whether our relationships are what we remember them to be.
Wish we could have stayed for longer.
If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, comment, subscribe, leave suggestions for future videos if you have any. Any and all support is greatly appreciated. And thank you everyone for 200 subscribers, and I will see you all in the next video.